So, welcome to today's meditation time. Let's just settle in where we each are and just get comfortable. If it feels right to close your eyes, I would invite you to do that, or just find a way just to really separate from all the distractions around you. Just try to remove all the sounds, all the sensations, anything that might get in the way of this present moment that you have found your way into. You know, the present moment comes and goes, and then the next one follows, and so often we miss it because we're so distracted by all the other things. And so really and truly just take these first few breaths to just let the rest go. The air conditioning unit will still hum. The dogs will still bark. The sensations of where you're seated will still have a feeling sense on your sit bones or on your back, wherever you are. But we don't have to pay attention to those things. It's like we're training our mind to truly be here and now. And then as you take a few more breaths, settle in a bit more, allowing the emotions to begin to calm, allowing the thoughts to maybe get a little quieter. And again, just really grasping the miracle of this present moment. And as you notice your breath just coming in and going out, be grateful for this time. Grateful for time to pause and to be. And we've been on this journey for the last several times looking at these pillars of joy given to us by the Dalai Lama. And I chose this topic, this path, for this beginning of this new calendar year because I thought, if we could just really anchor into these pillars, we'd have some places to come back to as the year continues. As distractions mount, as trauma or suffering come, as celebrations consume our minds, whatever those things are, I want us to feel anchored and rooted to these pillars. We started off with the pillar of perspective and how we see what's going on around us, how we see bad weather, how we see inconveniences and Mondays. And then we went on to look at the pillar of humility, of this humanness of who we are and this interconnection between all of us. And then we went on to look at the pillar of humor, of not taking things so seriously and really finding those moments each day to laugh until it hurts. And that brought us to the last pillar that we touched on, which was the pillar of acceptance. Of when it rains or when it snows or when the temperatures drop, we just let it. And we stop trying to fight the things that are truly not in our control. We just accept. This is the situation now. And that brings us to the fifth pillar, the pillar of forgiveness. And again, I don't think it's an accident the way that he's captured these, the order that he chose to put them in. The pillar of forgiveness. Had we started with that one, it might seem a bit heavy or a bit unattainable. But our perspective has begun to shift. Our understanding of how we are all truly connected, one humanity, has begun to grow. Our ability to smile and laugh, no matter what's going on, is being cultivated a little more. And we're finding our way toward a little more acceptance. So then in comes forgiveness. And there's this quote that has floated around for many, many years, and it's been said so many different ways and attributed to so many people, but the premise is this: not forgiving, holding resentments, keeping a grudge, It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. And to say that sounds so illogical. We would never do something harmful to ourselves thinking that it's going to cause someone else pain. But when we can't forgive or we can't turn loose of a grudge or a resentment, that's what we're doing. And I think it's really appropriate that a man like the Dalai Lama has given us this pillar. A man whose entire country and people have been persecuted and treated so unfairly by a government that continues just to oppress them. But every time he speaks, he offers forgiveness to the Chinese people. I used to think about how Thich Nhat Hanh would offer forgiveness to those that he watched create the atrocities of the Vietnam War and what it cost him as a young man. But he always taught forgiveness. And while I think that the things I've encountered and experienced at the hands of others is big, in no way does it compare to what these two men have experienced. And if they can forgive, shouldn't I? And so as I've studied these two lives of these two men and what forgiveness has looked like in their path, they always go back to this one type of meditation. And they teach it to us as a way for us to cultivate and nurture an attitude of forgiveness. It's called Tonglen meditation. And oftentimes when we meditate, and we'll have an affirmation or we'll connect some words to our in-breath and our out-breath, usually what we're doing is we're breathing in the goodness and then trying to let go or breathe out the stuff that's in the way. So oftentimes we'll say things like, I breathe in love and I breathe out pain. Or I breathe in acceptance and I breathe out intolerance. And that kind of meditation practice does fill us up with the goodness and does give us a tool of release. But both the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh have taught us that Tonglen meditation is a little different. Because when we practice that, we're taking in that thing that needs to be forgiven. And we're breathing out the forgiveness. So the in-breath is the example of us saying, I take this on. I hold this so that I can then breathe out forgiveness to you, to the world, to wherever it needs to go. It is not an easy form of meditation. But where we've come together on this path, I think it is very possible. And so I would invite each of us, and I will do it as well, just to think for a moment, someone that you've had a really tough time forgiving. It could be very recent. It could be from decades ago. It could be a person that is still in your life. It could be a person that's moved on. It could be a person that's not even alive anymore. But when we don't forgive, we are actually putting a barrier along the path of our freedom and our liberation. And so I'd like us to practice this Tonglen meditation. But first we have to know who it is and what it is that we're trying to forgive. What have we each held on to that's like a weight, like an albatross around our neck, like cinder blocks tied to our ankles? It's keeping us held back from the liberation that we deserve to experience. So let's each just think, who and what is it that we need to forgive? And then as we practice this, I will not pretend to tell you that after a few minutes of breathing and practicing this, that person, that situation will be fixed and that you'll feel lighter. But like all parts of this practice, it can cause a shift. And then you'll have a tool to make the shift a little more. And then the next day, a little more. Until all of a sudden, you almost don't even remember what it was to begin with. And I know that there are atrocities and there are terrible things that people have encountered. But I also know that our capacity to forgive is bigger than all those. So I'll say the words, and when I breathe in, we're each going to just think or visualize that person or that situation or that thing that has happened. And then the collective thing is when we breathe out, we will send out forgiveness. And it may not be in your heart just yet. It may not even be in your consciousness of believing it. But the act of doing it and practicing it will make the believability of it a little stronger. So just have that picture, that image in your mind. And we'll keep that at the in breath. And then we'll have on the out breath forgiveness. So sitting a little taller, or if you're lying down, stretching out just a little more so you can really feel the movement of the air, the movement of the prana up and down your body. And take a deep breath in and see the situation, the person, the thing. And as I breathe out forgiveness. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, forgiveness. Breathing in, I see it. Breathing out, forgiveness. Breathing in, I see it. Breathing out, forgiveness. Breathing in. Breathing out, forgiveness. Breathing in. Breathing out, forgiveness. Breathing in. Breathing out, forgiveness. And as we each continue to breathe, let's shift just a bit. And still as we breathe in, see the face or the situation or the thing, whatever it was. But this time as you breathe out, see the joy on your face. That's how we cultivate this pillar. Let the image of that situation disappear for just a second. And as you breathe out, imagine your face softened with joy, with peace. And then we'll breathe in, we'll see it again. And then we will breathe out and shift our gaze and see the joy on our face. Breathing in, I see it. And breathing out, I see my joy. Breathing in, I see what needs to be forgiven. Breathing out, I see the joy. Breathing in, I see what needs to be forgiven. Breathing out, I see the joy. And just shift back over to a flow of breath that feels right. And let those images, all of them, just kind of melt away for just the next little bit. As they come to mind, just breathe in and out slowly and deeply. Again, recognizing the miracle of the here and the now. And then I would just ask us each just to notice how you feel right now. Recognize the emotions, whatever sensations you feel throughout your body, throughout your heart. Don't discount them. Don't push them down. Notice them. Recognize them. Honor them. And it may not be that you can practice Tonglen meditation every day. That may be a little heavy. But maybe you could practice it one more time. And then maybe a few days later, you try it again. But remember, as you can breathe in the thing that needs to be forgiven, own it as part of your story. See it. Understand that it happened. And rather than breathing out the resentment and the hurt and the suffering that it caused, actively breathe out the forgiveness. I will tell you that I'm not quite there yet in my own story. It is a process. But I do know the power of what this practice can give. And I do know that I desire to live a lighter way of being. And I want all 8 pillars of joy to be strong and cultivated and nurtured in my life. Not just 7 and skip the forgiveness one. I desire them all. And so just see how this can happen in your life. One moment, one day, one practice at a time. Breathe it in, and then breathe out forgiveness. Namaste.